Greetings, sorcerers! Today we're looking at the Sorcerer Class for Dungeons & Dragons, looking at the changes from 5th edition to D&D 2024, going over the core traits, levels 1, 2, and 3, up into your subclass, or Sorcerer's Origin. Who are sorcerers? Sorcerers are those with innate magical talent, born to them from an ancestor who was either touched by magic or was themselves a powerful being or creature. Some examples of sorcerers you may be familiar with are Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty and Maleficent, Yennefer from The Witcher, Willow Ufgood from Willow, Loki from Marvel Cinematic Universe, Sifa from Castlevania, and Elsa from Frozen. Core traits. Hit die is a d6, saves are Constitution and Charisma, skills are 2 from Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion. Weapons are simple weapons. This has been updated in D&D 2024. In 5th edition, it was a smattering of different simple weapons, but this has been expanded to all simple weapons in D&D 2024. Armor is none. Starting equipment is 1 spear, 2 daggers, an arcane focus, a crystal, Dungeoneer's pack, and 26 GP, or 50 GP. Both of these options come with 50 GP from your background. Before we go much further, I'd like to ask you to consider liking and subscribing if you are enjoying my content. It really helps out the channel. Thank you. Level 1. Spellcasting. Cantrips. You know 4 cantrips from the Sorcerer spell list. You gain more cantrips as you level in this class, gaining a new cantrip at level 4 and at level 10. When you gain a Sorcerer level, you can exchange a cantrip that you know with a new one. Suggested cantrips are Light, Prestidigitation, Shocking Grasp, and Sorcerer's Burst. Light, Evocation Cantrip, casting time, 1 action, range, touch, components, verbal and material, a firefly or phosphorescent moss. Duration, 1 hour. You touch 1 large or smaller object that isn't being worn or carried by someone else. Until the spell ends, the object sheds bright light in 20-foot radius and dim light for an additional 20 feet. The light can be colored as you like. Covering the object with something opaque blocks the light. The spell ends if you cast it again. Prestidigitation. Transmutation cantrip, casting time, 1 action, range, 10 feet, components, verbal and somatic, duration up to 1 hour. You create a magical effect within range, choose the effect from the options below. If you cast this spell multiple times, you can have up to 3 of its non-instantaneous effects active at a time. Sensory effect. You create an instantaneous, harmless sensory effect, such as a shower of sparks, a puff of wind, faint musical notes, or an odd odor. Fireplay. You instantaneously light or snuff out a candle, a torch, or a small campfire. Clean or soil. You instantaneously clean or soil an object no longer than 1 cubic foot. Minor sensation. You chill, warm, or flavor up to 1 cubic foot of non-living material for 1 hour. Magic mark. You make a color, a small mark, or a symbol appear on an object or surface for 1 hour. Minor creation. You create a non-magical trinket or an illusory image that can fit in your hand. It lasts until the end of your next turn. A trinket can deal no damage and has no monetary worth. Shocking Grasp. Evocation cantrip, casting time, 1 action, range, touch, components, verbal and somatic, duration, instantaneous. Lightning springs from you to a creature that you try to touch. Make a melee spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 lightning damage, and it can't make opportunity attacks until the start of its next turn. Cantrip upgrade. The damage increases by 1d8 when you reach levels 5, 11, and 17, maxing out at 4d8. Sorcerer's Burst. Evocation cantrip, casting time, 1 action, range 120 feet, components, verbal and somatic, duration, instantaneous. You cast Sorcerer's Energy at 1 creature or object within range. Make a ranged spell attack roll against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 damage of a type you choose: acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, psychic, or thunder. If you roll an 8 on a d8 for this spell, you can roll another d8 and add it to the damage. When you cast this spell, the maximum number of d8s you can add to the spell's damage equals your spell casting ability modifier. Cantrip upgrade. The damage increases by 1d8 when you reach levels 5, 11, and 17, maxing out at 4d8. Spell slots. You have 2 first level spell slots at level 1. You gain more spell slots as you level in this class, gaining access to the next level of spell slots at every odd level, stopping at 9th level spells at level 17. Prepared spells. Prepare a list of 2 first level spells from the Sorcerer spell list. You gain more prepared spells as you gain levels in this class, gaining additional prepared spells every level except level 12, level 14, and level 16. Suggested spells are Burning Hands and Detect Magic. Burning Hands. Level 1 Evocation. Casting time 1 action. Range Self. Components verbal and somatic. Duration instantaneous. A thin sheet of flames shoots forth from you. Each creature in a 15-foot cone makes a dexterity saving throw, taking 3d6 fire damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. Flammable objects in the cone that aren't being worn or carried start burning. Using a higher level spell slot, the damage increases by 1d6 for each spell slot level above 1. Detect Magic. Level 1 Divination. Casting time, 1 action, or Ritual. Range, Self. Components, verbal and somatic. Duration, concentration up to 10 minutes. For the duration, you sense the presence of magical effects within 30 feet of yourself. If you sense such effects, you can take the magic action to see a faint aura around any visible creature or object in the area that bears the magic. And if an effect was created by a spell, you learn the spell's School of Magic. The spell is blocked by 1 foot of stone, dirt, or wood, 1 inch of metal, or a thin sheet of lead. Changing prepared spells. Whenever you gain levels in this class, you can exchange 1 sorcerer spell for a new sorcerer spell as long as you have a spell slot for that. If a sorcerer feature gives you additional prepared spells, these do not count against the amount of spells that you can prepare. Your spellcasting ability for sorcerer spells is Charisma, and your spellcasting focus for sorcerer spells is an Arcane Focus. Innate Sorcery. As a bonus action, gain the following benefits for 1 minute. Your spell save DC for sorcerer spells increases by 1, and you have advantage on attack rolls with sorcerer spells. You have 2 uses of Innate Sorcery, regaining all expended uses upon completing a long rest. Sorcerer's Origin has been moved to level 3. Level 2. Font of Magic, Sorcery Points. Gain sorcery points equal to your level, regaining expended sorcery points upon completing a long rest. Flexible Casting. As a bonus action, convert sorcery points into a spell slot, or convert a spell slot into sorcery points, based on the table. In D&D 2024, this has changed slightly. Converting spell slots into a sorcery point no longer requires a bonus action. Also, it specifies a spell slot created using sorcery points disappears upon completing a long rest. Metamagic. This feature has been moved from level 3 to level 2. Gain 2 metamagic options. You can only use 1 metamagic option on a spell at a time, unless the option says otherwise. In D&D 2024, when you gain a sorcerer level, you may exchange a metamagic option for a new one. You gain 2 more metamagic options at level 10 and at level 17. Careful Spell. Expend 1 sorcery point when you cast a spell to have a number of creatures up to your Charisma modifier in the spell's area of effect to automatically succeed their save. In D&D 2024, this has changed slightly. If the spell deals half damage on a success, the chosen creature instead takes no damage. Distance Spell. Expend 1 sorcery point when you cast a spell that has a range of 5 feet or greater and double the range of that spell. If the spell has a range of touch, increase the range of the spell to 30 feet. Empowered Spell. Expend 1 sorcery point when you roll spell damage, and re-roll a number of damage dice up to your Charisma modifier. You must use the new roll. You may use this metamagic even if you've already used another metamagic on this spell. Extended Spell. Expend 1 sorcery point when you cast a spell with a duration, doubling its duration up to 24 hours. In D&D 2024, if the spell requires concentration, you have advantage on checks to maintain concentration on this spell. Heightened Spell. Expend 3 sorcery points when you cast a spell that forces 1 or more creatures to make a save to resist its effects. Select 1 creature, causing it to have disadvantage on the first saving throw against this spell. In D&D 2024, this has been reduced from 3 sorcery points to 2 sorcery points, and now the single target you selected has disadvantage on all saves against this particular spell. Quicken Spell. Expend 2 sorcery points when you cast a spell that uses an action to instead cast it using a bonus action. In D&D 2024, this now specifies you cannot use this metamagic if you have cast a level 1 or higher spell this turn, nor can you cast a level 1 or higher spell after casting a spell using this feature this turn. Subtle Spell. Expend 1 sorcery point when you cast a spell to instead cast a spell without the need for verbal or somatic components. In D&D 2024, this also removes material components, except for material components that are consumed by the casting of the spell. Twin spell. Expend a number of sorcery points equal to the level of the spell for a spell that targets only one creature to instead target a second creature with the same spell, as long as that second creature is within range. In D&D 2024, this has been changed. Expend one sorcery point when you cast a spell that increases the number of targets when casting it with a higher level spell slot, and treat the spell as if you had casted it at one level higher. Seeking spell. This option is brand new in D&D 2024. Expend one sorcery point when you miss a spell attack roll to re-roll the d20 using the new roll. You may use this metamagic even if you've already used a metamagic option on this spell. Transmuted spell. Expend one sorcery point when you cast a spell that deals acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder damage, and you may exchange the damage type with another from this list. Level 3. Subclasses or Sorcerer's Origin. The options are Draconic Sorcery, Wild Magic Sorcery, Aberrant Sorcery, and Clockwork Sorcery. Draconic Sorcery. Dragon Ancestor. Select a Draconic ancestry and the associated damage type for future features. Black or copper dragons give acid. Blue or bronze give lightning. Brass, gold, and red give fire. Green gives poison. And silver or white give cold. You also gain the ability to speak, read, and write Draconic. And when you make a charisma check when interacting with dragons, you add double your proficiency bonus to those interactions. In D&D 2024, Dragon Ancestor has been removed. Dragon Resilience. Previously at level 1, increase your hit point maximum by 1 per sorcerer level. Now, in D&D 2024, it increases your hit point maximum by 3 and then by 1 for each sorcerer level. This is essentially the same, it just gives you an additional 2 since you are getting it 2 levels later. While you are not wearing armor, increase your AC by 13 plus your dexterity modifier. This is also changed in D&D 2024. While not wearing armor, your AC is now equal to 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your charisma modifier. Draconic spells. Gain the spells Alter Self, Chromatic Orb, Command, and Dragon's Breath. Alter Self. Level 2 Transmutation, casting time, 1 action. Range, Self. Components, verbal and somatic. Duration, concentration up to 1 hour. You alter your physical form, choose one of the following options. Its effects last for the duration, during which you can take a magic action to replace the option you chose with a different one. Aquatic Adaptation. You sprout gills and grow webs between your fingers. You can breathe underwater and gain a swim speed equal to your speed. Change appearance. You alter your appearance. You decide what you look like, including your height, weight, facial features, sound of your voice, hair length, coloration, and other distinguishing characteristics. You can make yourself appear as a member of another species, though none of your statistics change. You can't appear as a creature of a different size, and your basic shape stays the same. If you're bipedal, you can't use the spell to become quadrupedal, for instance. For the duration, you can take a magic action to change your appearance in this way again. Natural weapons. You grow claws, slashing, fangs, piercing, horns, piercing, or hooves, bludgeoning. When you use your unarmed strike to deal damage, with this new growth, it deals 1d6 damage of the type in parentheses, instead of dealing the normal damage for your unarmed strike. And if you use your spellcasting ability modifier for the attack and damage rolls, rather than using your strength. Chromatic Orb. Level 1 Evocation, casting time, 1 action, range, 90 feet, components, verbal, somatic, and material. A diamond worth 50 plus GP. Duration, instantaneous. You hurl an orb of energy at a target within range. Choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder for the type of orb you create, and then make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 3d8 damage of the chosen type. If you roll the same number on 2 or more of the d8s, the orb leaps to a different target of your choice within 30 feet of that target. Make an attack roll against the new target, and make a new damage roll. The orb can't leap again unless you cast the spell with at least a 2nd level or higher spell slot. Using a higher level spell slot, the damage increases by 1d8 for each spell slot level above 1. The orb can leap a maximum number of times equal to the level of the slot expended, and a creature can be targeted only once by each casting of this spell. Command. Level 1 enchantment. Casting time, 1 action. Range, 60 feet. Components, verbal. Duration, instantaneous. You speak one word command to a creature you can see within range. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or follow the command on its next turn. Choose the command from these options. Approach. The target moves toward you by the shortest, most direct route, ending its turn if it moves within 5 feet of you. Drop. The target drops whatever it is holding and ends its turn. Flee. The target spends its turn moving away from you at the fastest available means. Grovel. The target has the prone condition and ends its turn. Halt. On its turn, the target doesn't move and takes no action or bonus action. Using a higher level spell slot, you can affect one additional creature for each spell slot level above 1. Dragon's Breath. Level 2 Transmutation. Casting time, a bonus action. Range, touch. Components, verbal, somatic, and material. A hot pepper. Duration, concentration up to 1 minute. You touch one willing creature and choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. Until the spell ends, the target can make a magic action to exhale a 15-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a dexterity saving throw, taking 3d6 damage of the chosen type on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. Using a higher level spell slot, the damage increases by 1d6 for each spell slot level above 2. Wild Magic Sorcery. Wild Magic Surge, previously at level 1. When you cast a spell of level 1 or higher, the DM can have you roll a d20. On a roll of a 1, you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. In D&D 2024, once per turn, when you cast a sorcerer spell of level 1 or higher, you roll a d20. On a 20, you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. If the outcome is a spell, you cannot use metamagic on this outcome. Tides of Chaos. Also previously at level 1, when you make an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can give yourself advantage on the roll. You regain the use of this ability upon completing a long rest. After you have used Tides of Chaos, but before completing the long rest, to regain the use of this feature, the DM can have you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table when you cast a spell of first level or higher. After doing so, you regain the use of this ability. This has changed in D&D 2024. Give yourself advantage on any d20 roll. You regain the use of this feature by casting a level 1 or higher sorcerer spell or by completing a long rest. If you regain the use of this feature by casting a level 1 or higher sorcerer spell, you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. Aberrant Sorcery, first introduced to 5th edition with Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Psionic Spells. Gain spells from the Psionic Spells table. When you level up in this class, you may exchange one spell for any of divination or enchantment spell from sorcerer, warlock, or wizard spell lists, for which you have a slot. In D&D 2024, you can no longer exchange these spells. They are always prepared, and they are Arms of Hadar, Dissonant Whispers, Mind Sliver, Calm Emotions, and Detect Thoughts. Arms of Hadar. Level 1 Conjuration. Casting time, 1 action. Range, self. Components, verbal and somatic. Duration, instantaneous. Invoking Hadar, you cause tendrils to erupt from yourself. Each creature in a 10-foot emanation originating from you makes a strength saving throw. On a failed save, a target takes 2d6 necrotic damage and can't take reactions until the start of its next turn. On a successful save, a target takes half as much damage only. Using a higher level spell slot, the damage increases by 1d6 for each spell slot level above 1. Dissonant Whispers. Level 1 enchantment. Casting time, 1 action. Range, 60 feet. Components, verbal. Duration, instantaneous. One creature of your choice that you can see within range hears a discordant melody in its mind. The target makes a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, it takes 3d6 psychic damage and must immediately use its reaction, if available, to move as far away from you as it can, using the safest route. On a successful save, the target takes half as much damage only. Using a higher level spell slot, the damage increases by 1d6 for each spell slot level above 1. Mind Sliver. Enchantment cantrip. Casting time, 1 action. Range, 60 feet. Components, verbal. Duration, 1 round. You try to temporarily sliver the mind of one creature you can see within range. The target must succeed on an intelligence saving throw or take 1d6 psychic damage and subtract 1d4 from the next saving throw it makes before the end of your next turn. Cantrip Upgrade. The damage increases by 1d6 when you reach levels 5, 11, and 17, maxing out at 4d6. Calm Emotions. Level 2 enchantment. Casting time, 1 action. Range, 60 feet. Components, verbal and somatic. Duration, concentration up to 1 minute. Each humanoid in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point you choose within range must succeed on a charisma saving throw or be affected by one of the following effects. Choose for each creature. The creature has immunity to the charmed and frightened condition until the spell ends. If the creature was already charmed or frightened, those conditions are suppressed for the duration. The creatures become indifferent about creatures of your choice that it's hostile towards. This indifference ends if the target takes damage or witnesses its allies taking damage. When the spell ends, the creature's attitude returns to normal. Detect Thoughts. Level 2 Divination. Casting time, 1 action. Range, Self. Components, Verbal, Somatic, and Material, 1 copper piece. Duration, Concentration up to 1 minute. You activate one of the following effects. Until the spell ends, you can activate either effect as a magic action on your later turns. Sense Thoughts. You sense the presence of thoughts within 30 feet of yourself that belong to creatures that know languages or are telepathic. You don't read the thoughts, but you know that a thinking creature is present. The spell is blocked by 1 foot of stone, dirt, or wood, 1 inch of metal, or a thin sheet of lead. Read Thoughts. Target 1 creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself, or 1 creature within 30 feet of yourself that you detected with the Sense Thoughts option. You learn what is most on the target's mind right now. If the target doesn't know any languages and isn't telepathic, you learn nothing. As a magic action, on your next turn, you can try to probe deeper into the target's mind. If you probe deeper, the target makes a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, you discern the target's reasoning, emotions, and something that looms large in its mind, such as a worry, love, or hate. On a successful save, the spell ends. Either way, the target knows that you are probing into its mind, and until you shift your attention away from the target's mind, the target can take an action on its turn to make an Intelligence Arcana check against your spell save DC, ending the spell on a success. Telepathic Speech. As a bonus action, target a creature within 30 feet to create a telepathic link, mentally using a language that each knows to communicate. The range of this link is a number of miles equal to your charisma modifier, and lasts a number of minutes equal to your sorcerer level. Creating a new link ends the previous link. Clockwork Sorcery. First introduced to 5th edition in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Clockwork Spells. You gain spells from the Clockwork Spells table. When you level up in this class, you may exchange one of these spells for any abjuration or transmutation spell from the Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard spell list, for which you have a spell slot. In D&D 2024, you can no longer exchange these spells. The spells are Alarm, Protection from Evil and Good, Aid, and Lesser Restoration. Alarm. Level 1 Abjuration. Casting time 1 minute or Ritual. Range 30 feet. Components Verbal, Somatic, and Material. A bell and silver wire. Duration 8 hours. You set an alarm against intrusion. Choose a door, a window, or an area within range that is no larger than a 20-foot cube. Until the spell ends, an alarm alerts you whenever a creature touches or enters the warded area. When you cast the spell, you can designate the creatures that won't set off the alarm. You also choose whether the alarm is audible or mental. Audible alarm. The alarm produces the sound of a handbell for 10 seconds within 60 feet of the warded area. Mental alarm. You are alerted by a mental ping if you are within 1 mile of the warded area. This ping awakens you if you are asleep. Protection from Evil and Good. Level 1 Abjuration. Casting time 1 action. Range. Touch. Components Verbal, Somatic, and Material. A flask of holy water worth 25 plus GP, which the spell consumes. Duration, concentration up to 10 minutes. Until the spell ends, 1 willing creature you touch is protected against creatures that are aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, or undead. The protection grants several benefits. Creatures of those types have disadvantage on attack rolls against the target. The target also can't be possessed by or gain the charmed or frightened conditions from them. If the target is already possessed, charmed, or frightened by such a creature, the target has advantage on any new saving throw against the relevant effect. Aid. Level 2 Abjuration. Casting time 1 action. Range 30 feet. Components Verbal, Somatic, Material. A strip of white cloth. Duration 8 hours. Choose up to 3 creatures within range. Each target's hit points maximum and current hit points increase by 5 for the duration. Using a higher level spell slot, each target's hit points increase by 5 for each spell slot level above 2. Lesser Restoration. Level 2 Abjuration. Casting time, a bonus action. Range, Touch. Components, Verbal and Somatic. Duration, instantaneous. You touch a creature and end 1 condition on it. Blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poisoned. Restore balance. As a reaction, when a creature you can see within 60 feet of you is about to make a d20 roll with either advantage or disadvantage, you can instead prevent the advantage or disadvantage. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, regaining expended uses upon completing a long rest. This concludes the introduction to Sorcerer for Dungeons & Dragons. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps out the channel. Thank you.